You know, I really have nothing to talk about this week. There isn't any new Battlefield 1 information that I can actually work off of, and I'm not feeling particularly inspired to do another editorial like the one last week. So this video will be mostly gameplay, but I have a few comments on it beforehand. Firstly, the gameplay is provided by Nickel, who is kind enough to record some using this specific loadout for me. I've used his gameplay because he tends to be extremely accurate, and his playstyle is very different from mine. The second reason is that someone who tends to shoot this accurately lends further legitimacy to my claims, more so than numbers alone can. While it ought to be the case that statistics convince just as readily as testimony from good players, it's simply not the case. There are still people that use the heavy barrel and stubby grip on the FAMAS and AEK, which is a completely retarded idea. If you ask Nickel, who shoots on average over 30% accuracy with the AEK, he'll tell you that the compensator and stubby grip is greatly superior, as I've been saying this whole time. Speaking of compensator and stubby grip, why not use this setup on the Ace? The Ace is one of those weapons which is either really usable or really unusable, depending on the player. It's an extremely hard weapon to use effectively, since it doesn't have the close quarters crutch potential of the AEK, but it has a bit too much first shot multiplier to be accurate at range without some practice. There are a couple loadouts which I see being used on it quite a bit. Heavy barrel and stubby grip, the setup I used to favor, stubby nothing and angled heavy. Of these, angled heavy is probably the only one which is legitimately effective, and it's the one you'll see Nickel using on his channel for videos older than this one. Comp Stubby Ace 23 is definitely not an easy setup to use. When you use heavy barrel and stubby grip, the weapon ends up being very forgiving of inaccuracy and mag dumping, but the weapon actually ends up being a bit worse for it, as the huge first shot recoil will throw off at least one of your first 3 bullets if you're being accurate. It's easy to control constant recoil, as it's really just a linear pull, but a non-linear recoil pattern across the first 3 shots, due to first shot multiplier, is almost completely impossible to control properly. So, despite seeming to give more accuracy, heavy barrel and stubby grip force you to rely on the first, 4th, and 5th bullets in a burst, rather than the first 3. So Comp Stubby is really unforgiving, but if you're accurate, or if you really like to hit headshots, I can't think of a reason not to use it. It's probably the best setup for hitting targets behind cover, or for specifically going for headshots. The low vertical recoil makes it possible to actually hit your first 3 bullets consecutively, and the compensator prevents horizontal recoil from throwing your aim off the head to either side. This setup is all about microbursting. You can't mag dump at all with this loadout, since the spread increase is a bit higher than normal. However, 2 and 3 round bursts are really good here, and if you can click really fast, you'll find that the damage output is really good. It will take some getting used to, but once you get good at hitting the first shots across your bursts, you'll be shooting more accurately than you ever could have with stubby nothing or even stubby heavy barrel. If you haven't ever really liked the Ace 23, try it with this setup and you might find it enjoyable. If you're someone who feels like the Ace is inconsistent, again, try this and see what you think. If you're not at all accurate, go ahead and stick with heavy barrel and stubby grip, because that's literally the only way you can make 5 round bursts and up even marginally effective. I will say that heavy barrel and angled grip is kind of useful, but it still ends up being worse than a properly used comp stubby setup. Now, there are some weapons that can use H-bar stubby well. The L85 is probably the only reasonable user of this in the 750 RPM class, but it still ends up being pretty good with the comp stubby as well. And the M16 ends up working well with it since it basically has the recoil of a 700 RPM weapon. Other weapons which work well with comp stubby include the CZ301, Scar H, and M416. If you don't like any of these weapons right now, go ahead and try them out again with comp stubby and tell me what you think. Enjoy the gameplay, and if you did, do go check out some of Nickel's other gameplay, as it's worth watching.
Objective Delta.
C4's ready to load!
Предлагай помощь!
Be advised, objective Echo has been neutralized. Now control objective Echo.
Вот тебе медпакет! Медпакет!